the spring of 1692 in Salem, Massachusetts, two young girls accused several local women of bewitching them. It was common for the colonists to believe in the supernatural, so being possessed by the devil was not unheard of for the time period. A series of Salem witch trials began that would condemn the guilty to death under Puritan law. One of the accused admitted to being a witch and revealed there were several other witches looking to destroy the Puritans. Many of those who were accused of witchcraft had unsettled accounts with their accusers, or were seen as a threat to the Puritan values. About 50 people were directly or indirectly accused by the members of the Putnam family, which strictly followed the Puritan beliefs and customs and strongly supported Reverend Samuel Parris, the initiator of the witch hunt. Putnam's rivals family, the Porters, tried to organize the villagers against the trials, but the attempt had failed, and 19 of their supporters got accused of witchcraft. A main accuser was Abigail Williams, the 11-year-old niece of Reverend Samuel Parris. Magistrate John Hathorne presided over the special court that was convened to hear the trials, including those of Martha Corey and Rebecca Nurse, both regarded as upstanding members of church and community, and the 4-year-old daughter of Sarah Good. As a result, more than 200 people, 2 dogs, were accused of witchery. 19 were hung on Gallows Hill, 1 was stoned, and 7 died while in jail. There were many people accused of witchcraft during the trials. A group of girls were the reason for the start of the accusations. As stated before, when this group of girls were told by a doctor that they were bewitched, they claimed that a slave, Tituba, was the one that was bewitching them. This was just the beginning. After Tituba's confession of being a witch and being taken to jail, she announced that she was not the only witch in Salem. The accusations began to grow larger and larger after this point. Spread of possibility of other witches in Salem, neighbors began to accuse each other of witchcraft. Salem Village, where the trials took place, was an poorer counterpart to the neighboring Salem town, which was populated by wealthy merchants. According to Benjamin C. Ray, it was an economic difference that eventually divided the village geographically into 2 conflicting groups: the poorer agricultural householders, who lived on the western side of the village, set their hearts and fears against their more prosperous and commercially minded neighbors who lived in the eastern part of the village, nearer the town, and economically benefited from it. Ultimately, the conflict between the 2 groups was between differing visions of community. The difference in prosperity led the frustrated farmers to accuse the richer merchants of witchcraft. Although the Salem witch trials did not have an actual compromise, people in Salem did come to a settlement. The governor of Salem was the one to command an end to the trials, because his wife was one of the many women to be accused of witchcraft. However, that was not the only event that resulted in the end of the trial. Around 200 people were accused of being a witch, and of these 200, 20 of them were killed. Of these 20 people, 19 of them were hanged, and 1 was tormented to death after refusing to plead. After these events occurred, the hysteria in Salem just began to die out. Bishop was a widow who lived in Salem town. Bishop had a bad reputation around the town because she had been accused of witchcraft years before and had frequent run-ins with the law. Bishop wasn't the first person accused during the Salem witch trials, but she was the first person tried because it was believed the case against her would be easy to win. She was brought to the trial on June 2nd, found guilty, and became the first person executed during the witch trials, when she was hanged on June 10th, 1692. George Burroughs was the only Puritan minister to be accused and executed during the Salem witch trials. Burroughs was a minister in Maine during the 1670s, but left the settlement after it was attacked by Native Americans. He later settled in Massachusetts for a while before being asked to serve as the new minister in Salem Village in 1680. The residents of Salem disagreed over his appointment as minister, and he was not always paid his salary. He often borrowed money from the Putnam family to support his family. When he stopped being paid altogether, he left Salem and returned to Maine. At some point, the Putnam family sued Burroughs for failure to repay his debt, and shortly after accused him of witchcraft. Burroughs was arrested, brought to trial on August 5th, and executed on August 19th, 1692. In conclusion, Salem witch trials began in the spring of 1962 after two girls claimed to have been bewitched, which sent a huge wave of hysteria through Salem. During the year of the trials, many people were accused, prosecuted, and even killed. This state of shock and horror brought much conflict, and the governor of Salem demanded an end to the trials after his wife was accused of being witched.